And for today's round, it is Odell Beckham Jr. He did a conversation and an interview with GQ magazine. He talked about being traded by the Giants. And Giants fans, if there are still any of you left, brace yourselves. In this conversation with Mark Anthony Green, Beckham was asked about the moment that he was traded by New York and what went through his mind. Quote, "My initial reaction was not disappointment. I felt disrespected." End of quote. So how's that feel, Giants fan? How much more do you want to hate this guy now? Wait, don't answer. Not yet, because there's more where that came from. A lot more. And if you're looking for a reason to hate even more on him, you're about to get it. Odell Beckham went on, quote, "Like, after everything I've done for them, this is me being honest, this team has not been good for the last 6 years, period. Even the year we went to the playoffs and everyone was talking about this and that, and we went there, and I didn't have a great playoff game. Don't get me wrong. I had a terrible game. But I left the game with 7 targets, and I'm supposed to be your number one receiver. I left the game with 7 targets. We lost. They scored 40 points. It's just all bad." End quote. And there's even more. Quote, "I felt disrespected because I felt like I was a main reason at keeping that brand alive. They were getting primetime games still as a 5-11 team. Why? Because people want to see the show. They want to see me play. That's just real rap. I'm not sitting here like it's because of me, but let's just be real. That's why we're still getting primetime games. I felt disrespected. They weren't even man enough to even sit me down to my face and tell me what's going on." End quote. In other words, I'm not saying it's because of me. I'm saying it's because of me. And he might be right. Giants fans, you may hate to hear that. You may even hate the guy. But know this, he's not wrong. People were not tuning in to see Eli. They were not getting primetime exposure because of Eli. They were tuning in for Odell. He was keeping that brand alive. And when asked about who they are, Beckham made that clear too. Quote, "The GM. And I'll forever have respect for Mr. Mara. Everything he's ever done for me, he's shown nothing but love. Even when we were having our talks, it was coming from a place of love. I could always feel it. So I'll forever have respect for him. But then to be called like that and then be texted by your coach and be like, 'Oh, yeah, I heard the news.' Yeah, you heard the news. It happened because of you. The reason I'm gone is because of you. It was just tough because of the way initially it felt. On the other side of it, I was excited because of a new start, because I'd been praying to God the season before this season for a change." End quote. All right, so there's a lot of different ways to go with this. First off, Beckham is in a better spot. He's in a better spot with a better team, a better quarterback, and a better organization. Yeah, I said it. A better organization. Because you look at the Browns in the last 12 months, they've got a plan and a vision. What about the Giants? They signed Odell Beckham Jr. to a new contract less than a year ago, and then they traded him. That is not the sign of a great plan or great vision. But if he's in a better situation, why does he feel disrespected? Simple. Anybody who gets traded feels disrespected. It's never a compliment to be traded. Even if you're going to a better spot, it's a sign that the team where you had been playing didn't want you anymore. So, of course, you're going to feel disrespected. Of course, the guy's offended. And the reason it felt personal is because it was personal. That's a team telling one of its best players ever, in his prime, a year after they gave him a huge deal, "We don't want you. We don't need you. We're actually better off without you." Of course, the guy felt disrespected. Who wouldn't? Listen, there's never been a player in the history of the world in any sport who got traded who didn't feel disrespected. That's your team saying, "We don't want you around." So I've got no issue with him saying that. Even if he's in a better situation now than he was then. He knows that. He appreciates that. but it doesn't change the bottom line. They gave up on him, they shipped his ass out of there, and they decided they were better off without him than they were with him. Yes, he felt disrespected. And Giants fans, I hate to bring up a really painful subject, and I don't want to have to rehash this trade all over again, but I guess we're going to have to do that because I know you want to come in here with your argument that Odell was a big distraction. And fact is, it's a bad argument now like it was a bad argument then. You know, there was that spin that the Giants put out after the trade. A spin so obvious. And I hate to say I told you so, but I predicted it the day before it happened. If you'll remember, it was after that trade that, according to Ralph Vacchiano of SNY, the move, quote, was absolutely not a football decision, end quote. That according to a source. And then there's this from a source, quote, he had become too much of a pain in the ass. And there was a real fear that eventually it would get worse, end quote. All right, fine. Sure. Whatever you say. He was a pain in the ass. Let me ask you this. If this guy was that much of a pain in the ass, why did you sign him to a 5-year deal only a few months earlier? When exactly did he become, quote, too much of a pain in the ass? All right, I know you're going to try and run in here with this, so let me get in front of this. When did this happen? Was it when he had that bizarre thing with the field goal net? That was back in 2016. Oh, yeah. Hey, Rome, how about that fight with Josh Norman? Yeah, how about that fight with Josh Norman? That was 2015. Hey, Rome, how about that boat trip before that playoff game? Right, 2017. The contract extension was August of 2018. The Giants knew all this. They saw these things, and they still decided to give him a big contract. Big contract. And then they moved him just a few months later. So what happened between now and then? The one thing that did happen after the extension was that sit down with Lil Wayne. But are you really going to tell me that you're going to trade the best wide receiver in team history because of one thing he said in an interview with Lil Wayne? I mean, seriously, if you're a serious sports organization and you can't handle the fallout from a receiver talking to Lil Wayne, then that's on you, not on the receiver. Trading Beckham did not make Eli Manning any younger, and it didn't make the eventual draft pick of Daniel Jones seem any smarter. As Beckham told GQ, quote, I felt like I'd moved past my past. I really felt like, why did we even sign this contract? What did we sign this for? That's what I felt during the season. Why did we do this deal to not feel long-term? Because I don't feel like y'all are still wanting me to be here long-term during the season. I could feel it during the season. I would be up and down the sidelines saying that, like, why did you sign me? I could have just not done this at all, end quote. I could see where the guy would feel like that. He knew it didn't feel right after they signed him, and sure enough, he was right. They moved him. So he felt like he had moved past his past, but I'm not sure the Giants had moved past his past or past their past, which is even stranger when you signed him to a contract that paid him $21 million, half the guaranteed money in the first year, and then traded him. Nice work, everybody. So I can understand why the guy felt disrespected. Nobody wants to be traded, and if you're a competitor, that's got to eat at you and it's got to fuel you. But the people who've really been disrespected here, the people who've really been disrespected more than Odell Beckham Jr. are the Giants fans themselves because they just watched the best receiver in team history get traded, and none of the explanations then or since have made sense. Believe me, he is better off without you, but you're not better off without him. No matter how many times you tell yourself you are, no matter how many times you tell yourself how big of a distraction he was. The team knew all that, and they still signed him. And I'm still trying to figure out why that is, if he was such a big distraction. I don't have a problem with this. And the Browns are going to be fine with the potential distractions, with the bullseye on their back, with the expectations, and with everybody looking at them. I am still all in on the Browns. They're still America's team. They still have America's quarterback. They still have America's coach. And it says here, Beckham will once again become America's receiver in that situation. Yeah, I'm rolling the dice. but it doesn't feel like a gamble to me. I love these guys. I am all in.